sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So what's your, okay, anyway, we'll discuss that later, but I'm really interested on how you guys are viewing sustainable energy versus unsustainable energy and carbon based.
Yeah. After the webinar, I think we can have a discussion.
Yeah, sometime
Thank you,
later,
thank you,
but
thank
I'm interested in this space.
So shall we begin the show?
Pranjal, I think you can start if it is okay, because we're all there.
Sure, ma'am. Okay. Harshad and Kajal, take the lead of hosting.
Okay. So, Kajal, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah. So, a very delightful morning, first of all, to one and all present here. I, Harshit Yadav, along with my co-comparer Kajal Sharma, welcomes you all to the panel discussion on blockchain reshaping the future of business. The blockchain revolution is changing the way that industry works. The industries across the world are taking an interest in the blockchain technology to facilitate the movement of value from one point to another without a middleman and capitalize the power of consensus, security, trust, and provenance that comes with it. Blockchain technology can be perceived as fundamental and disruptive as the invention of internet and holds vast promise for all the business and individuals. A blockchain is a system for recording information. As a technology, it is innovative because the information in a blockchain is stored in such a way that makes it difficult or impossible to change, hack, or cheat the system. It can be visualized as an internet of value, a vast globally distributed ledger available to everyone, where every asset from money to music can be stored, moved, transacted, exchanged, and managed. A native medium for value. Blockchain has the potential to revamp currently existing processes to unlock new sources of efficiency and value.
I would now like to take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished panelists for the panel discussion, who with their immense knowledge and expertise will help us to understand the concept of blockchain revolution. We have amongst us Mr. Satya N. Gupta, who is the chairman, Blockchain for Productivity. He is an international expert in NGN technologies, regulation, interconnection, and broadband with 40 years of experience in all aspects of telecom. A triple master in electronics design technology, IT management, and telecom policy and regulation, he is globally known as NGN Guru. He is also a trainer and coach for telecommunication technologies. He is respected Secretary General of ITU APT Foundation of India. Additionally, he is a respected Vice President and Trustee of PTCIF and co-chairs BIF Committee on Rural Digital Infrastructure. He founded NGN Forum in India to spread awareness and capacity building in the field of emerging technologies. As a member in expert panel of Commonwealth Telecom Organization, he conducts training programs in the areas of NGN technologies. We are very much pleased to welcome you here, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Anand Kadalia, Senior Director, Transformation Technologies, Oracle US. At Oracle, he leads the global innovation, strategy, and development for a portfolio of digital products and solutions based on blockchain, IoT, machine learning, and augmented reality. He has also led innovations in supply chain track and trace, multi-modal urban mobility, and AR and IoT-based guided equipment repair. At present, he is exploring how blockchain concepts like DeFi, DID, ZKP, and NFTs can benefit the B2B space. Prior to this role, he has also led an IT services business that won multiple innovation and best implementation awards. He has published numerous articles and is a frequent speaker at conferences on applying innovation in the enterprise.
Next we have with us Mr. Venu Bora, who is the Managing Director of Blockmatrix IT Solutions Private Limited. He holds more than 50 years of professional experience in pre-sales, solution engineering, sales, business and development in IT and ITES industry. He founded Blockmatrix in 2018 with a mission of building solutions with cutting-edge technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, and IoT, that is Internet of Things. Blockmatrix has helped to deliver state-of-the-art solutions in agri-tech, BFSI, and entertainment.
Our next speaker is Mr. Irfan Khan, founder and CEO, Hypermind. He has worked with several companies like Hosh, Cat Factory, Chipley, Citrix, Cisco Systems, and others. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics, statistics, and consumer behavior from Christopher Newport University and a master's in consumer behavior and behavioral economics from Janus University, USA.
We also have with us Dr. Geeta Hegde, Dean, School of Business, UPES. She is specialized in marketing management, sales and distribution, supply chain management, and also has been a part of various international and national conferences. She has published 3 books and over 40 research papers, and has also completed her executive education from Harvard Business School, Boston.
Next is our speaker and moderator of the show, Mr. Akhil Damodaran, Assistant Professor, School of Business. Mr. Akhil Damodaran is the regional mentor for Change Niti Aayog, leading the Atal Tinkering Lab initiative in Uttarakhand. Before joining UPES, he has worked in France Telecommunication and Tata Communications. He is an advisory board member of IVI Tech Solutions. He is co-creator of AeroOpt Aviation Optimization Solution and Smart P-Chain, that is blockchain-based PPP framework. He is a postgraduate in management from IIT Delhi and studied law from National Law University, Delhi, and bachelor's in engineering and Rajiv Gandhi Technical University. We are highly obliged to welcome you all and grateful for taking out your valuable time for us, sir. Now we'd like to introduce School of Business, UPES, to everyone. So the School of Business UPES is ranked among top 15 MBA institutes in North India and #1 private institute in Uttarakhand by Outlook iCare India MBA Rankings 2020. UPES ranked 66th in NIRF National Institute Ranking Frameworks of MHRD in the management category. SOB UPES works towards becoming a leading global business school for competent professionals and develop industry-ready management professionals with international outlook, to evolve as a thought leader in chosen domains by undertaking cutting-edge research and advisory activities, to engage with industry practitioners and be abreast of contemporary knowledge and business practice, to promote sustainability and ethical values among School of Business fraternity.
I would now like to take the opportunity to introduce Student Council to you all. Student Council officially represents all the students of School of Business, UPES. We try to find solutions to the problems encountered by the students. We also promote and encourage involvement of students in organizing college and inter-college events. Now, I would like to request our Dean, Dr. Geeta Hegde, to speak a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pranjal. Kajal, and thanks Pranjal also there, who has been coordinating this. And I think I need to thank the students first, because this is a student event. And we are, for us at School of Business, engagement of students in every activity and nurturing them to become future professionals and contribute back to the society and the country is extremely important. So anything that we do, we involve students, and this is the academic and research vertical of our student council, which is managing the whole event. So thank you so much and congratulations to the student team. I would like to thank my faculty members who have been always supportive in any activities that we do. and our endeavor to make the School of Business among the top business schools in the country. Though in the presentation, I think Harshit mentioned that we were among top 66 in the NARF ranking. I must say, in India, as you must be knowing, we have roughly around 1,000 universities. And when you talk about B schools, this ranking is among the B school, B school ranking or management school ranking. There are nearly around 4,000 business schools. We are 1/4 we are 1/3 of the business schools in the world, in the country. So you can imagine, and especially in the domain specialization, I think we stand close to number one, if not number one, because in the space of energy and other areas, environment, energy, we are number one in the country, and we associated. Irfan was talking about what we do. I will talk about the area, the space that we work in terms of energy and sustainability a little bit. At School of Business, we are looking at creating technology-enabled, analytically inclined, and also socially sensitive students. So we've been working a lot on this, and we have seen that the students are, we kind of differentiate the students among the rest of the students who from the business schools. The School of Business, as already mentioned, we now are among the top 20 business schools in the country in our undergraduate, and also in a postgraduate, as already mentioned by some like Outlook and other ranking agencies. But I must say that NARF and the government ranking is extremely difficult because of the size and the magnitude that I spoke about. For us at School of Business, focus is also on creating an environment that is, learner-centric or student-centric, as I already mentioned. We in the domain specialization, as I told you, especially in the area of energy and environment, we are, highest in ranking. Here, I must say, research orientation, a School of Business perhaps has the number of, maybe a highest number of PhD candidates in country or perhaps in the world. We have 250 PhD scholars, and most of them are middle and senior level executives of leading organizations, both nationally and internationally. The university again ranks, UPES ranks among is got accredited NAC A. Again, as I told you, national ranking is not easy. The A grade is also not very easy to get because of the size that we have, the number of universities and institutions that we have in the country. Talking about just to answer Irfan, we are now working on, we are set among Himalayas, and as you said, among the top 10 beautiful campuses in the country. It's really beautiful. We have two campuses. One houses the School of Business and School of Law, and the other one, the main campus, houses School of Engineering, School of Computer Science, School of Design, and School of Health Sciences. And we've already also added School of Modern Media recently. The thing that I want to tell is that because of all these different multidisciplinary schools here, we also allow students to do credit from among different schools. For example, if a student, like a holistic and multidisciplinary environment is created where a student wants to do something on design thinking, he or she from School of Business can also take up credits, and it's mandatory. So this is a holistic kind of development that we do. But as in the space of energy environment, School of Business also has, we have a Center for Energy, Environment and Sustainability, which is conducting programs and training to companies. As we speak, we are working on a training session for Accenture, which is on the area that you spoke about, environmental sustainability and carbon emission and so on, footprints and so on and so forth. So this is on 12th, and Accenture is wanting to have a set of their employees to train with us to in this space. we are also connected with or working on something called as a gross environment product, in which we are talking about what we are going to do for the environment, and how environment is going to be a big, area of concern. And in this space, we will be speaking about. So this is perhaps first of its kind, and Government of India is also supporting in this endeavor of ours. So perhaps it will be the first. It is first of its kind in India, but I'm sure it is first of its kind in the world to understand what environment and the effect on environmental issues, and what is it? What is the profit that you get by being sustainable and environmentally conscious? We are working with an organization which is called Himalayan HESCO, which is, again, we are surrounded by the Himalayan mountains. So as for us, it is pertinent that, the energy emission, carbon and all carbon emission and things like that is very, very pertinent. So I think there are a lot of firsts that we do. And for us, to talk about technology and interventions of technology. And as I already said, anything that is going to be disruptive and futuristic is something that we are looking at. At the same time, we want the students to be socially sensitive and contribute to the society, and see that, there is in the process of technology disruption and in the process of growth, there is also a lot of consciousness on grounded thought in which the society is not affected, and the society is being, we provide solutions to the society and solutions to the issues of the society. So that, as already Kajal mentioned, we are looking at, as student council, one of the most important thing that we say is that provide solutions to the problem and be futuristic. So with that, I think I can go on about the school, and also about what the students are doing and how we engage our students, and how we see that they are, futuristic and continuously be relevant to the organization and society. So, and teach them a lifelong, learning process, or a lifelong learning attitude. So thank you very much to the speakers, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Venu, I think Mr. Anand, and also Irfan. Thank you so much for taking time off from a busy schedule. I think, and whatever the practitioners speak is going to be extremely useful for us. So I will be talking. I will also say about the education and academia, and how we a little more on this space as I speak in the during the panel discussion. Thank you so much, and all the very best. And I'm sure this is going to be a great learning. Thanks, Kajal.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind, encouraging words. Now I'd like to request Mr. Akhil Damodaran, sir, our moderator of the event, to take over and continue with the panel discussion. So please go ahead.
Thanks, Harshit. First of all, I want to thank Geeta ma'am for giving this. It's really a good way to introduce the panel, how good we are actually, and how much potential we have. So coming to that, let's start the discussion. So let me start with the premise that almost a million years back, when we were hunters and gatherers, we used to have informal way of transactions of goods and services, or foods, or whatever you can call it. And when we became more civilized, we made colonies, and then we became kingdoms, and they started creating rules for us, and that became the rule of the day. And by the time we became more and more knowledgeable, more and more smart, and more civilized, and we spread across the globe, we created institutions that's called government, or advisor policy institutions, or even banks. And that's from where the rule of transaction has started. And we thought that this is actually the law of nature somehow, that this is how the things has to work. And then came the internet in 1990s, and all of a sudden, brick and mortar became digitalized in the time we thought of. Institution became more online. And not only it became online, it changed everything we thought of before. I mean, what is somebody who has worked in 1940s or 50s or 60s, even 70s, he's sitting today, he will be feeling what it was in 1970s. Nobody can think of. And if you think of those times, 1970s, people thought this is a nature's law. I mean, that's how the people has to work out. So things are changing. And internet was the last big revolution which happened. And then came the last of 2000s. And somehow there's a new term coined in called Bitcoin and blockchain. And all of a sudden, it has changed the way we thought of everything around us. Technology is able to govern things. That sentence never existed, out of the novels. Not even non-fictions. It was existing in the fictions, not in the non-fictions. And all of a sudden, it became a reality that technology can govern things. You don't need humans or intermediates to govern things, and that's how blockchain came in. A distributed ledger technology. I don't want to define it because I want to give it to the panel to have a discussion on it, and that's how it should start out. So before we start further, let me have an opening remark from all of you. So let me start with Mr. Satyan. Mr. Satya, sir, what is your view on what is so much big about blockchain? I mean, why is this becoming, a big thing in the last 3-4 years, and it is taking so much attention worldwide? What is your view on it, Satya, sir?
Oh, thank you, Professor Akhil. First of all, I'm really thankful to UPS and your student council and yourself, Professor Akhil, to make me a part of this exciting expert panel on a subject very, very new, upcoming and topical, as you have also mentioned, the blockchain. So as you have asked, actually, some of the things your students had already mentioned, why it is so big or why it is a hype or whatever you call it, actually. Blockchain, as you know, it is a technology, but not any other technology. It is distributed ledger technology. So it's a specific or a niche technology, the ledger technology. That means something to do with the transactions. So if we go by that, it does not look great, does not look big or anything. It's just a technology to do something to a transaction. So it's not big that way. Neither it is very promising if we go by that. But actually, it is more than what it says or what it looks actually. Basically, it has a promise to unlock the potential of all the tangible assets, which normally all the business are trying to, but also the non-tangible assets. Non-tangible assets, and that is what? And that is the virtualized assets, or you may even call them digital assets, because everything has become digital. So if there is a business, something is doing with brick and mortar kind of assets, so his market size may be just 10% of the total market size. The balance 90% actually will be the market size of the businesses who are dealing with the non-tangible assets. And that is where this technology plays a role, actually. It actually creates the value out of the intangible assets, in addition to adding value to the tangible assets. And how it does it actually? So basically, it tries to solve the problem of the conventional businesses are having, conventional processes are having. And like one of them which cut across all the business is efficiency, the productivity issue. Basically, most of the conventional business, or for that matter, conventional organizations, are suffering from the efficiency or productivity. Nobody have ever achieved the potential of their business should have done, and that is the inefficiency. And one reason for that inefficiency is the what you call a centralized control, or a intermediary, or a third party, or a party which is making an impact without having skin in the game. And that is the third party, that is the mediatory, that is the centralization. So to start with, the distributed ledger technology does away with the centralized control or the middleman. You know them by different names actually, and that is where the efficiency issue gets sorted out there, which is the one fundamental problem which the blockchain as a technology can help us to solve. The other problems in any transaction, any business, any process is that of the security, and which is becoming more and more important as we go more and more digital, as we go more and more online. And that is also by using the encryption and cryptography. So they also take care of the security, privacy. There are 2 3 combined thing there. And the third thing, and that is also very, very important, and that is about the trust actually. Because in the conventional way we do the business, there is one party whom we have to have trust, and that is the third party of the centralized controller. But then there are human beings there. So there is a possibility of some human error, there is a possibility of some deliberated manipulation. All those things are there. So that also, because you are getting rid of this third party, so the trust also, and that why, how they are then actually achieving that trust, that they do what is called by consensus, by majority voting kind of thing. So the trust will be there because majority believes in you or your process or your decision. So these are some of the living or the existing problem it is solving. But that is not the only, you can say, potential of blockchain. The other potential which I'll be talking when we go further is about the innovation. Actually, this is, as you have also put it, a disruptive technology. Disruptive technology are falls in all the definition of futuristic technologies, a technologies which don't believe in the status quo or change the status quo. And that is what are required to, grow, to create value, to create wealth. And this is being futuristic, being disruptive. I will like to call it is a creative disruptive technology, not just a disruptive technology. Though disruptive technology is also not a negative, though word sounds negative, but it is positive today. Any technology which have to succeed today has to be disruptive, otherwise it will not succeed. But in addition to being disruptive, this technology is also creative. The disruptive creation, what they call it, actually it can do. And for that it enable the innovation, it is enable the entrepreneurship also. So all these things put together actually are making this blockchain a big hype, you may call, or a big buzzword, you may call. But it is there. It is there. You cannot ignore it. And you taking a lead, your university, especially dealing with the futuristic technology and taking a lead in India. I'm seeing so many actually attendee in this kind of seminar. I think in the COVID days, this is my first one where I'm seeing the attendance at that. That shows the interest and potential to this. And this, of course, I will like to call finally this technology, though people have called you, your paper also calls it Internet of Value. Yes, it is there. Finally, it has become, and that is the word I've just coined while listening to all of you, and especially Professor Gita, worldwide chain of value. Like you have a world wide web, so it is based on internet, of course, the basic infrastructure will worldwide chain of value. And maybe we can work on that together and get this word itself patented through your academic experience. So finally it will become a worldwide chain of value. So every value will be rooted through this, and it will create value out of anything, including intangible, and that NFT is one which we'll be discussing. So with that, Professor, I think I'll wait for my next term.
Okay, thank you, Satya sir. I think That is a good point. I think let me start with Mr. Anant on this. I mean, your opening remark. I think this phenomenon is not only Indian specific; it's also the West is going through it. So, Anant, sir, what is your view on this?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a real privilege and honor. Dr. Akhil, you opened it really well, and let me keen on that, and then I'll come back to blockchain. I like how you put it in the broader context of human evolution and technology evolution and how we came to be. So if you take it from that lens, right, in the medieval ages, knowledge was local, know-how was local, addressable markets were local, trust was local, everything was local, right? About 50-kilometer radius is who you transacted with essentially. So then came, technologies like electricity, telephony, mechanization, and such, especially in the early 20th century. And the world as we know it today essentially runs on the template laid down by these technologies, right? And we're still extracting value out of those technologies. And the interesting paradigm there is that that led to an expansion of addressable market, even though you still had knowledge hubs. For example, Detroit is the auto hub, Shenzhen in China is a manufacturing hub, and Silicon Valley is semiconductor and a software hub, and so on. So there are pools of knowledge, but then we're able to transact across large distances because of technology enablement. The other innovation which you keyed on to, Dr. Akhil, is actually law, right? We're able to transact with other countries and people we don't know because there is a legal structure where the counterparty risk is addressed. Now, all of this worked really well in the analog world, and it has done well for the mankind. But as we move along in the technology progression, we are at a cusp, just like we were in 1920s, right? 1920s was the emergence of electricity, telephony, and the convergence of all these technologies into the template we know today. So we are yet again a similar cusp where machine learning, blockchain, internet, and cloud computing are coming together and enabling the next big technology paradigm for the next 100 years, right? So we are fortunate to be part and parcel of that early new paradigm that is about to unfold. So in this paradigm, what we need is new mechanisms for collaboration, coordination in a hyper-autonomous world. So even if you look at how people organize as various structures, it could be a university, it could be a company, it could be a government, even those kind of organization structures might change in the future because we have newer technologies available for better collaboration, coordination of various things. And like Mr. Satya said, it enables us to unlock value from both tangible and intangible assets. So today, where we are seeing traction with the blockchain is in what I call as the first and foremost the atoms world, right? If you take something like the supply chain world, it's one of the most complicated coordination games that we play at a global scale, and there is a lot of counterparty risk, a lot of external factors that we are subject to, and still somehow like clockwork, it works well, right? But what if we can lower the cost and complexity of dealing with that? And in light of that, actually, Niti Aayog has done a pilot with Oracle to track pharmaceuticals in India, along with Apollo and Stride Pharma and so on. And then there are companies like Circular who track sensitive, environmentally sensitive and rare earth minerals like tantalum, cobalt, and such that are used in various automobiles and so on. And there's a company called Everledger. They track the provenance of diamonds, and these companies run their products on Oracle blockchain platform and such. That's just a few quick examples, and you can go on and on about every industry where there's a supply chain. We have been seeing quite a bit of traction there. But outside of the Oracle bubble, there's quite a bit of innovation happening, and we'll get to that as we go along. But my hypothesis is that given that the transactional cost of a complex coordination is lowered, blockchain could become the preferred way to do a lot of different coordination among different entities, and over time all kinds of settlements will gravitate into the blockchain layer, and we see this a pattern in other areas as well, in nature and other areas as well, where there's a low energy, low entropy, and best metabolism. Those kind of mechanisms go through the preferential treatment for the natural selection, and they survive. And blockchain brings those some of those desirable traits, and we can unpack these as we go along. So,
very good points. I think that's a really important point. So let me come to Mr. Irfan on this. Irfan, just to add to your opening remark, I it's fine that everybody is talking about blockchain and how it's important. You also need to little bit tell me about how this is how both Bitcoin and blockchain are playing themselves. I mean, somebody told me, quote me if I'm wrong, that somebody told me that the Bitcoin is the incentive for blockchain, and I read somewhere. Okay, but generally around, if you see, blockchain is taking a positive sense in terms of the popularity, but Bitcoin is always getting into controversy. So, Irfan, with your opening remark, I want if you can clarify on this. Thank you.
So thanks, Akhil, for organizing this. Thanks, Geeta ma'am. I think Anant and Satya probably summed up whatever there was to talk about the blockchain. But so Akhil, just to give you some background about myself, I've been in this space since 2012. I run a company called Hypermine. We're essentially in the business of decentralized identity. We are building self-sovereign identity systems where we are essentially enabling people to take back control of their personal data. We've just launched our token called HID, which is available on Uniswap as of last month. And coming back to what you said earlier, it really struck a chord with me about how we were hunters and gatherers, right? And from a very fundamental and subconscious and a DNA level, I personally believe that humans are not born to be governed. We are not born to be ruled over. This is my fundamental belief system, right? And as you rightly said, over a period of time, we created social structures which essentially overtook our lives and our thought and our essential, our fabric of reality, right? And I believe that this concept of decentralization is essentially a way to take back control over and achieve that state of freedom where we used to be pre-government. That's the way I look at it, right? Now, coming to now, I'm one of those unlucky people who is suffering the brunt of the crypto, because I need to run my product and I need to run my company side by side, and now I have to deal with crypto. So you have to understand how it's affecting business, how it's affecting government, how it's affecting our everyday lives. Although the cryptocurrency, okay, has helped me as an organization raise funds, free myself from the clutches of the venture capital, be able to freely circulate value, as Anant rightly said, and now Satyan also rightly said. But at the same time, now I am also troubled by world governments. I am under the spotlight. I am under the lens. And on top of that, I am dealing with digital identity. So it's an extremely controversial situation, right? So one thing Bitcoin has taught us, and this is essential to understand, is that as a system, when you want to create something, as a system, it's best not to fight status quo, but to create parallel systems that work well and can essentially help people achieve what they want to achieve, right? The whole concept of centralization, that was, yes, you need a mediator or you need a central authority to be able to take the right decisions. I think we're beyond that now. When they said they would take the right decisions, I don't know who they're taking these decisions for. But the fact remains that, and it's been proven that those decisions are not really here to serve the purpose of greater good and general mankind, right? I don't know what kind of service they're proposing, right? So when it comes to blockchain as a technology, yeah, it's cool. It does all those fancy things like Anant and Satyan rightly stated. But it becomes a threat. It becomes a threat when you introduce the concept of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, as Satyan rightly said, and as Anant also rightly said, this is not a currency. It's just a form of value that is being shared. It could be anything. It can be gold, it can be silver, but at least the problem that I believe that governments are not able to understand, or probably not able to effectively regulate it. If you look at the cryptocurrency and the way it is circulating around the blockchain, everything is open. It is, in fact, it is easier to trace cryptocurrency than it is to trace cash. So why is there so much of a resistance to establish something like this? So the problem all boils down to control, right? They are not able to control this. So you are seeing now a global movement against companies like Binance, against companies like the larger exchange companies, exchange houses that are facilitating the swap between fiat and crypto for obvious reasons. World governments are now launching targeted attacks against cryptocurrency to bring the value down. As you've seen, the value of Bitcoin was around 60. Now it's down to 30. It's lower than 50%. You have all this FUD coming out of China. There's a lot of targeted attacks against Binance in India, against WazirX, and so on. But the funny part is, all those countries, so it's UK, US, Turkey, India, all these countries who are actually launching these target attacks are the next in line to be launching their own currencies. And these are the government-backed currencies. So my question is that you don't accept Bitcoin, that's fine, but you're launching your own currency. That's cool. I understand why you want to do that. So there is this whole controversy around the currency, but they're saying, no, we want to go ahead with the blockchain. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to use blockchain in an enterprise environment where you have companies and you have organizations using it, it's a technology that definitely can solve a lot of problems. But what about the decentralized aspect where you have public networks, where you have people like you and me who want to take back control of our currency, who don't want to adhere to banks? Banks in my world are a pain. They're very difficult to work with. They're archaic. They don't care about customers. If you look at cryptocurrency, it's so open, it's so friendly. Yes, there is a cost attached to it, but at the same time, there are problems related to it because it's very new. So it's difficult to say how governments are going to approach this value system. But the fact remains that when you have a decentralized environment where you don't have a centralized entity who is charging money for this service, how do you pay? How is it supposed to self-sustain, right? So if you understand the blockchain, it's basically a distributed computer. It's a global computer. It's one large processing system, right? And that processing system needs energy. It needs storage. It needs processing power. It needs people to manage it. Who is going to manage that? Who is going to support it? Why should I, as an individual, buy hardware, invest time and money and energy, installing it, setting up in my home just to support a network? Why would I do that? The incentive, I need to be incentivized. The incentive is basically so that I don't have to go and adhere to what Google and what HSBC are telling me. I can go and build my own system in my home, but I need to be rewarded for that. Someone has to pay for that. So that is why the incentive model is built from the tokenomics. When you launch a token, you build tokenomics around it. The tokenomics can be inflationary or deflationary depending on how you implement it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but the fact of the matter is that someone needs to pay for the party. And the cryptocurrency is the ticket that will take care of this decentralization problem when it comes to adoption. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Irfan. It was really, really nice in terms of the kind of macro level understanding you have given me. So, putting that point as an extension, Mr. Vinu, let me come to you on this. Uh, First of all, you're also in this space for more than 6 years now, okay, and you're also dealing with clients and everything. First of all, what is so much about blockchain, and how you feel what is happening in India?
Right. All right. Thank you, Akam. And first and foremost, thank you so much for this opportunity with UPS, and I thank you for setting this program. And of course, I thank Mrs. Hegde for giving me this opportunity. Right. So first and foremost, let me begin with this, saying with this, now, our fellow panelists have said a lot about what it can offer, what it can do in particular. But if you look at a 30,000 foot level, it boils down to one key thing: proof. The entire blockchain system, be it in every method or every way of looking at it, it just boils down to proof. Now, proof or provenance, if you will, is the aspect that is determining, whether a system should be decentralized or how people are taking advantages. There are so many dividends, there are areas that people are looking at, exploring new areas where blockchain can help them. For the case of fintech, DeFi has exploded for that reason, wherein you can actually trace back or have a trail of every transaction. I'll probably share an interesting story about the whole Bitcoin thing now. Nothing technical, but just a basic understanding now. The timing of Bitcoin launch was very interesting, and it was in Jan 2009. Now, if you look at it, the first, it's Bitcoin or blockchain is all about blocks of information, as you know, at a very layman level. The first block has an interesting message. That was sent by Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin network, to Hal Finney, who's first recipient of some Bitcoin. The message he sent, the message was from a article, Times article, saying the chancellor is on the brink of a second bailout to banks. Why banks are failing? That was the need, that created the need of decentralization, and that's the area. Banks usually work on fractional reserves. They don't really keep all the deposits. You basically have, you as a customer wants to save money or put in money, that goes in as a deposit. But the next day, that total amount that you're putting in, maybe ₹1,00,000 or $1,000,000 in it, that will not be with the bank. That goes into other areas. Probably he's trying to make some profit of our money. But if you see, for the case of PNB in India, it went bankrupt. And when people were trying to cash in or take the deposits back, RBI had to step in to say that you can take a limited amount of currency each month, which is not a right use case. So governments across always have this trouble. Customers always have an issue, but we are forced to trust that intermediary and person inside. So blockchain with that proof that I was talking about can be one sort of a solution. Now, coming to your point, where these, why, there is a lot of growth in fact, around blockchain, and there are new ways of thinking it. And there are so many protocols or so many ways or different methods to solve the same issue. There are many areas or industries this can solve. The beauty of blockchain is it's wider outreach. It's not just limited to supply chain, or it's not just limited to energy or gas. It can get into anywhere, because that will help solve the problem of fraudulent activities, create a trace, find an authenticity. That's why you see that blockchain entering into different fields. Nobody would have imagined that DeFi space or decentralized finance would explode to become a billion-dollar industry within 1 or 2 years. Players like Aave that started in 2017, if I am correct, has almost is one of the biggest player, which is locking up around 20% of this total value that is been locked in this decentralized finance and so on. So there are many use cases, and it has got a great potential. What where we are missing in India especially is the ambiguity around the solutions, or ambiguity about how this functions. I always keep saying to people who want to discuss about blockchain is not spelt as Bitcoin. Blockchain is just a bigger tree, and then Bitcoin is one part of it, one fruit of it. So that's how you do have a lot of other iterations to this system. And we need a clear understanding of these technology and what it can prove, or what it can deliver. So with that being said, we can always talk as to what can be the potential solutions, or how India can accommodate. But one area I definitely see is we need to pull in more people into the system, or have more students or enthusiasts in this particular industry, because we just have around 30,000 to 40,000 people in India in this space, because people are not really aware what it can do. So people are still trying to solve the same puzzle or same question. Is Bitcoin or blockchain all about cryptocurrencies, or volatility around it? So we need to bring those people in, create that awareness, create that education, and of course, initiatives like this one from UPS can lead to increasing people around this, and I'm sure this initiative would help more people joining in, and help society and people around to get the benefits of it. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you so much, Venu. Okay, Dr. Geeta, let me ask this question to you, because all of this them have already told about what the blockchain is, how it is important. Now, see, as a leader of an educational institution, this is the high time that the blink of the eye, you're looking at a lot of technologies passing by all the time. Every year there's a new thing happening. So blockchain is something which is emerging so high. As an educational leader, how you perceive it? I mean, what is the view of it? I mean, what is happening around?
Okay, Akhil, thanks for the question. And I think the practitioners have gotten a lot of insights on what blockchain is all about. As an academician, and and also working closely with corporates through CII and other research and other consultancy space, I would look at this in two aspects. One, how academia is going to use it. Second, what is it that we are going to teach the students, and how is it going to be useful for business? So not as a technologist and not as a expert in technology, I would take some examples of what is happening around us. Talking about what happened in the internet area space itself today. The pandemic has forced all of us to use internet, and we are sitting at home and teaching our students, and online has become a need of the hour. We also see that there is concept of digital natives and digital immigrants. We call the younger generation as digital natives, and all of us as digital immigrants. So immigration is a choice. We could have someday wanted to move to become digital, or we could have said something like, I'm that generation, I don't believe internet, and I don't trust internet, so I won't get into internet. But as you see today, what has happened, the disruption has made all of us, young, old, and everybody adapt to technology, and especially the internet way. And I very interestingly see that the digital immigrants, the people, the older generation, are much more adaptable and able to communicate, use technology, use internet in a much speedier and a better way. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are two things that can happen. And I like the way Irfan pointed out, saying that Either you work with the, you don't go against the system. Yes, the system will take a lot of time. There are issues that the system is looking at, why they want to adapt something or do not want to adapt something. You need to work with the system and see that things happen. So what I'm trying to tell you is that disruption can force people to do something and adapt to it. And the disruption sometimes, or the technology or the changes can take its own time. Technology can take its own time to actually come to the system or come to a stage where everybody has to use it. So talking about blockchain, there are two things that I feel is important for me, which I feel is, which I know is going to be part of, which is good with the blockchain. That is trust. Number one, trust and efficiency. So trust and efficiency, though Mr. Gupta very casually said that it is used in transaction, but human society and social and evolution is everything about transaction. So without transaction, there is nothing happening. So if this is going to help in ease of transaction, if it is going to be trustworthy, and I think then I feel that there is, this is extremely important for business. It is extremely important. Blockchain is extremely important for the way we do business. And it is going, perhaps one day it's going to be the norm, and it's how businesses work on. As also one speaker said about Niti Aayog, there's a white paper which Niti Aayog has done, in which they say that there are certain areas where the country needs a lot of work on, especially in ease of doing business. Though we've grown from 79 to 63 in 2020 in the ease of doing business among the 190 countries that we've identified, among the countries in the world. But there are different spaces or areas where perhaps blockchain can be extremely useful, in spaces like enforcing contracts, as you say, the smart contracts, in spaces like, because we are a huge property-driven country, and in spaces like property registration, in spaces like trading across nations and trading across borders, starting businesses itself. So there are many areas where the blockchain can be extremely useful. So to me, if a blockchain is something that where there is a distributed knowledge, the distributed ownership, if there is something where there is trust, if it is something that is immutable, that cannot be, once coded, cannot be reversed, and if there is something that it is disintermediation, it is across everybody. And I think if these are the characteristics of a particular technology, I'm sure the usage is going to be extremely high. So for me, as I told you, when the world is speaking about technology-led, yes, technology has its own issues. As I already said, if there are issues in internet about trust, and if there are issues about technology in terms of adapting to technology, in terms of people wanting to have, or the governments wanting to have their own enforcement and of course control. It might take time, but there is definitely going to be a huge usage. And it is going to disrupt the business that is going to happen, or the future. For me, two things. One, how businesses gets affected in this way of technology. How our understanding of technology and blockchain and to the future generation, that is the students, how we inculcate this technology-led environment and lead through enable technology across our student mindsets, and also how universities and institutions ourselves use technology for betterment of our efficiency. For example, today we are talking about DigiLockers and all our transcripts and all the degrees are on digital. And now, if you want to have that as a security, then definitely you use blockchain as as a platform. If you want to have your content, the contracts and the contents, and education is a huge space. So in academia also you can use this. So I think there is a lot one can do, and to me, blockchain is going to be the future.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the conversation. Okay, now the next question I will be asking for a specific person, but after that anybody can join in for any opinion if they want. So let me start with Mr. Anand here. Okay, Mr. Anand, blockchain has a potential to impact the business models. Okay, this is a very important statement. The reason is because a lot of companies may become big thing, or a lot of companies may go down because of this business model change. What is your view on it? I mean, as an oracle, and also as a person who has looked at the macro level. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any transformational technology like blockchain will enable new business models, just like internet did, just like machine learning is doing, and so on, right? And in all these transformational technologies, as we call it, there are a few aspects. Right? One is, how do you improve the efficiency of your current system or mechanism of doing business? The second thing is, what new affordances can it create? Affordances as a design term, in terms of what new opportunities can you have that you can tap into, right? And three, in ever changing business scenario, how does it help you adapt quickly, both in terms of keeping up with the competition and also being able to offer better services to customers and partners, right? My hypothesis is that if you look at what happened with companies of early 1900s to now, right? The reason companies became more and more global and more companies are able to afford to be global is because of enterprise software like databases, ERPs, and such, right? Have enabled intra-company coordination and to some extent intercompany coordination. For example, standards like EDI have helped to transact with other companies and partners and so on, right? So this enterprise software has enabled companies to be much, much larger than they could have otherwise had they used manual processes. Now, blockchain will or has a potential to bring a similar kind of market expansion and business expansion, where entire ecosystems can transact at a net new level that aren't possible today, right? So, for example, if you're a large manufacturer, and so, okay, you have your tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, and so on, and they may at best integrate with their tier 1 suppliers, but then tier 2, tier 3, and so on, the long tail of supply chain is rarely integrated. And so there is a quote unquote a caste system equivalent that happens in the business world as a result of that. So how can you make it more egalitarian, right? To give an analogy, when companies like Alibaba came up, they provided the information about small companies and their products and services available to the world. So they lowered the cost and complexity of information availability to everyone. And so they created an even ground and created opportunities for the small players. Blockchain, in a similar way, could not only help with information, but also, like Mr. Satya said, right? It can help to manage the value as part of the transaction. And that's where it helps in ecosystems becoming more efficient and coming up new paradigms that we don't know yet, right? It's still very early. We are seeing some shoots and leaves here and there, but as time progresses, we'll definitely see a lot of change and interesting innovations come by.
Thank you so much, Anand sir. Anybody else want to add on to this?
Yeah, sure, Akhil, I would like to definitely add on something.
Sure. Please, yeah.
So coming from an enterprise background, and I agree with exactly what Anand is talking about, right? So when you look at how there is a fundamental paradigm shift in terms of how enterprise is looking at blockchain and how the blockchain industry in itself is operating, right? It's a whole new subculture that is coming out. So when you are transacting from now, since I'm in the blockchain space, I work with other blockchain companies. So like you said, Aave and a couple of others were mentioned. We work with all of these, right? And the traditional sense of a business model where you are giving X and receiving Y somehow doesn't exist anymore. So, and of course, since blockchain is the blockchain industry is one huge test bed, whether you are looking at it from a psychological perspective or a technology perspective or a business perspective, everything is experimental. So people are looking out for new ways to transact with each other. Now, bringing in cryptocurrency, looking at the evolution of decentralized finance, and the concept that everything is so new and experimental, even the traditional forms of business models are being disrupted rapidly, in the sense that when we want to transact with another company in the blockchain space, we don't ask for money. There is no money exchanging hands. This is something very interesting to me as a paradigm shift. What I noticed, that the only objective now in the blockchain space is to ensure that your token value is going up. They don't care about revenue anymore. They don't care about customers anymore. They don't care about services anymore. The only objective is to make sure your token price goes up and it stays up, because that is the defining term right now of how your company is being measured, right? So they are coming up with extremely unique and interesting forms of business models, such as staking, whereas you're trying to increase liquidity pools for your tokens. You're trying. So all the energy that is being spent is, guys, I am building this product. Go ahead, use it. It's free. It's yours. But you need to help me raise the value of my token. I'm not going to go into the extensive economic models that are being created to ensure that the token value stays high. But definitely the traditional business models have been disrupted drastically. The exchange of one more important thing to understand about money is that how we perceive money is changing, right? So the consciousness shift of the previous generation and our generation, how we perceive money. And I'm going to stop using this word money now. I'm going to start using the word value, right? So the whole idea of that you would need to go out, do something, get a job. You'd see your parents working hard. You'd see your father go out to work. You'd see your mother at home trying to figure out ways to somehow bring in value into the house so they could spend money. The whole source of money, the way money is being generated is not the same. You don't have to go to banks anymore to get loans. You can just go to Aave and just get a loan at 1/10 of the time and 1/10 of the effort that it's taking. So if the source of the value is changing, even the way you're processing that value is going to change. So the whole concept of the business model is completely different than what it was. So it's very interesting how this is going to evolve in the next 10 years. And at least the way I have experienced it, coming from a traditional enterprise background and moving to a purely decentralized background, the paradigm shift of how people are understanding the value of money and what is actually generating business is rapidly changing on a daily basis. Thanks, Akhil.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really, really nice. Mr. Satya, I want to ask you a question on this, just to move forward on this. You are a seasoned, experienced person in terms of telecommunication, and you have seen the telecom revolution happening in India for a longest period of time. Now, my question to you is, as you know, next year you have 5G coming in, most probably, and there will be a broadband explosion going to happen. My question is, do you really believe that is going to exponentially improve the blockchain industry in India? That is my first question. And secondly, the second point is, what do you feel once 5G kicks in and all the broadband explosion kicks in? What will be the reaction of the consumer? I mean, in terms of the blockchain acceptance.
Thank you, Professor Akhil, for kind words. And of course, this is a great question for me, and it provides a great opportunity also for me to bring out the linkage between the telecom and more specifically between the broadband or the internet and the blockchain. Actually, as you know, the blockchain ecosystem starts on top of the public internet. Actually, it is a, like we call it a ledger technology. It is also a type of internet, taking the words from the normal public internet. So actually, whatever is happening in the blockchain domain and whatever will be the use cases, the fundamental requirement or the backbone of any blockchain infrastructure will be the basic internet infrastructure, that is the public internet. Only thing change there which have already happened is it will not be the legacy internet, it will be the new internet, which means broadband and the version 6 of the addressing system, which are unlimited. So it is called new internet, and that is also happening. So that is the starting point. Blockchain cannot be used unless you have a high speed internet based by a dedicated address called V6 address, because of blockchain is a P2P kind of ecosystem where it needs end-to-end connection, security, monitoring, everything is required, and that is possible only if you use new internet vis-a-vis the old internet, and new internet is already there and available. If you go by India, actually, we already have 750 million internet users, which will become actually 1 billion in next 2 years. But those internet users are not falling in the definition of broadband. Actually, internet means just a data connection to the public internet. The speed is not very important there, but without a speed, the internet is of no use. Actually, that is why broadband is required, and we are there. And 5G is what is promising that, actually, the less delay, more speed, and then these V6. So with that, if you go, the blockchain actually will be able to make use of all its characteristics, actually, because you will be giving a dedicated address. The virtual private network will also be there, so that you can monitor end to end any transaction, actually, not only by using distorted or NAT, what they call. And the blockchain, because blockchain is one disruptive technology, but at the same time it has to be a creative technology also, and that is what is fueling what we call innovation in everything is happening in the country, and especially on the business side. A lot of innovative business models are coming, actually, and they are based on the blockchain, and blockchain will be based on these 5G kind of connectivity, broadband. So hence it will be supplementing each other, actually. So both the blockchain as well as 5G will be complementing each other, in fact, and that is what is the key, and that is what is a positive there. So they will fuel the innovation in the business model. Ultimately, the end game which will happen on the blockchain front is, like our other colleagues have mentioned, about the tokenization. That is the basic incentive for anybody who works in blockchain. He is interested in get a incentive which can only come by tokenization of his product or his service, and then increasing the value of that token. But that is not the only thing, actually. You can do much more than that. So basically, tokenization helps the incentive of the stakeholder, means whosoever is putting the stake there or skin in the game, whether time, money, hardware, software. But what is required as we go further, and that is where the innovation in the business model has to come, there has to be a enhancement of the value, or you can call it even wealth, of society at large, not only the stakeholders, but also not only the shareholders, all the stakeholders and society at large. So that is the potential blockchain have. For that, the blockchain entrepreneurs have to create what we call a platformization, not just a product, not just a token or a product. They have to create a platform. The platform which will have the infrastructure, and that is the blockchain infrastructure, riding over the public internet infrastructure. The blockchain infrastructure will be your P2P network, your consensus mechanism or consensus rules, and your assets or that product what you create. So all these things put together will be a blockchain layer riding over the internet layer, and then it will be a platform which will be offered to everyone as a service. Like you can have token as a service, you can have ICO as a service, you can have blockchain as a service, you can have smart contract as a service. And that is the model it has to evolve to, and that is the innovation. And for that, the backbone will be again your basic internet connectivity with broadband speed, low latency, and unlimited and simplified addressing system. Thank you.
Good point, sir. So that's a good point. Very good point, sir. I think let me go to Mr. Irfan and Venu. I think first Irfan and then Venu. So you people are working for startup space for a long time. Okay, I have a specific question that blockchain, how good it is, how good it may be, how good it may be. It is convincing customer to have a blockchain enabled app is not like having a broadband connection. Okay, at least in today's time. So what is your feeling of in terms of adoption of blockchain in India? First Irfan and then Venu can add to it.
Okay, sure. Okay, so Akhil, I'll only speak in the capacity that I've been working in, which is essentially decentralized security and identity. So we're basically building privacy tech. What I have realized in the last 3 or 4 years of actually trying to sell blockchain tech is that nobody cares. Nobody really cares, man. If you go and really talk to a customer about blockchain this and blockchain that, they're just going to be like, I don't care what's at the back. Are you going to solve my problem or not? It's a very fundamental grassroots discussion that, look, I have problems A, B, C, D. I don't care if it's a database. I don't care if it's a blockchain. I don't care if it's AI. I don't care if it's a donkey. But is it going to solve my problem or not? And that basically got me to thinking that, okay, now, although I was interested in this tech for a long time because I come from a cryptography background, that, okay, how do you sell this tech, right? How do you go about doing this? So so we can spend hours, days discussing and building a big decentralized network with thousands of nodes and tokenization and artificial intelligence to make like elastic blockchains. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not solving grassroots customer level and consumer level problems, there is never going to be any adoption. So we had to actually think in the sense that, what is the blockchain solving a customer problem? And 90% cases, it's not. You know what I mean? It's not, because the problems that blockchain solves is not really problems on an enterprise level right now. And that is something that we all need to understand on a fundamental level, that blockchain is not some sort of thing that is going to fix everything on the planet, right? So even we had to shift, we had to pivot, we had to find multiple use cases for our protocol to actually solve ground level customer problems that they are able to buy. So after like 2.5, 3 years of constantly pivoting, changing, building, revamping our pitch to customers, now we have started seeing some customers who are starting to finally adopt blockchain based technology, not because of blockchain, but because we're solving an everyday problem for them.
Good point. Good point, Mr. Irfan, on this. So let me go back to my next question on this. So, Venu, I think your point on this, because I think you are also working for 5-6 years on this domain. I think you are also facing the same problem. And what is the next? I mean, how you are able to convince customers on adopting blockchain?
Well, I'd like to agree with Irfan out here with the point of solving real world problems instead of talking blockchain or technology, because talking technology would really not matter unless it's really solving the purpose at that point of time. Now, I'd like to talk about a use case that we have done. We tried to solve a problem of marketplace which is so fragmented and largely held by middlemen, is the livestock industry in India. What we basically have done is we have created a marketplace which can have tracking and traceability aspect with Hyperledger, which is one of the protocols of blockchain, or one of the popular blockchains. Used it to solve the problem of creating provenance across what is happening to the livestock, and how good that particular animal is. And at the same time we can include other features or other technologies like IoT or AI, which can actually give much more dividends. The point I'm trying to make is there are two ways of looking at it. One is how the space is evolving. There's one space which is talking about cryptography or cryptocurrencies, then tokens, and which is addressing a certain level of audience where they're already in it, and they clearly understand what tokens and these work, and then they try to learn cryptography or cryptocurrencies, and then trying to make money out of it. That's one area of looking at it. Then there is other area where people are trying to solve real world problems which can be small at this point of time, but as the industry grows, as the technology evolves, you will see that this being adopted at a higher level. Now you'll see that blockchain at the point of time is at very early stage, because if you look at the complete roadmap or the history of blockchain, it's just 10 years now, or 11 years rather, and it started as a store of value to begin with. Ethereum changed the game, and people are trying to see what it can still do or change. It still takes time, and as Web 3.0 is growing, according to you know the research organizations, PwC, there are more like 500 billion internet devices that are being connected globally. So that gives the requirement of 5G. That also requires an aspect of optimization and of creating efficiency around, which blockchain can solve, which is definitely not an area of cryptocurrencies or so. That can be one aspect of looking at it using these coins or tokens, but it can also solve real world problems, but it will take time. At this point of time, the key is to ensure that people really know what it can do, give that space of experimenting in small chunks, because it's still a very early stage. And I'm sure as the technology evolves, more people would be involved. They will try to solve a lot of problems, because if you see the history again, banking systems were there from 1900s, and you will see that there are so many collapse, which is we feel that it is now established right now, but to a certain extent, but you see so many have collapsed. So many banks have gone bankrupt within a system like this. Even though they're like, people have gone bankrupt, there was a recession and people hit by all this issues which have crushed normal humans or people around. But now, because blockchain has come up with a lot of potential, it we keep saying potential because it is still has to be proved to wider audience. So this phase will still be there, but I would say it should be given some space to experiment, and people should learn about these technologies, get more awareness, and I'm sure it would be adopted to bigger organizations and bigger audiences.
Sure.
And I'd like to make a point here,
Yes,
if you have a
sir.
second.
Please.
So when we create these products or solutions with new technologies and new paradigms, right? So the mental model to think about is is a new product or the new solution 10x or at least 10x better than the customer's current way of doing things? Is it available at a fraction of the cost to what the customer currently pays, right? When I say fraction of the cost, it's not just the monetary cost, it's also the user experience, friction, and so on. And third, do you have bridges to on-ramp the customer seamlessly from the existing world to the new world? So these three conditions have to, so you have to say yes, yes, yes. Only then the customer will be able and willing to uptake the new product, right? It has to be 10x better at a fraction of the cost, and the onboarding experience should be seamless, right? So once these three are there, then it's much becomes easier, right? And when we look at different kinds of business models too, right? This is something that we try to address as well.
Okay, good point, Mr. And I was supposed to ask you this question before you said that's good. Thank you, sir. Okay, my next question to Mr. Satya sir and to Satya sir. Satya sir, see, the point is, even if we talk about blockchain or Bitcoin coming up, there is no regulatory mechanism yet developed. I'm not saying to halt the way it works, but at least to see how it works and to make sure it has more conducive environment. What's your say on it? And I don't think even for global audience, even sir, you can answer after this. But in even the global market, there is not much regulatory, level of institution or developments happened in terms of blockchain. Yes, Satya sir.
Thank
your point.
you, Professor Akhil. It is a great question. Actually, let me start with a bit of humor. There is a saying in India, if you want any technology to fail, give it to the government, oblique regulator. That is a saying in India, and I have been a part of that ecosystem. So that means when a technology is new or developing, you should not regulate it at all. Actually, and why regulator? First of all, you should see what is in the liberalized kind of way we do business, ease of doing business. All these things say one thing, and that is first give the opportunity to the market to behave or market to play unregulatedly. And if they fail, then the regulator has to come. So first chance is to be given to the market, to the player, to the innovator, to the startups, or so. And that is what that was true. As you know, in India, we have two successes by this phenomena. One was our cable TV. Cable TV was earlier unregulated, and that is how it mushroomed. Now we have 200 million cable connections in the country. So you see, and now they're trying to regulate it, and a lot of litigation is happening, and no growth is happening actually. The other thing is, of course, the internet and internet telephony in India. Initially, the internet was fully regulated, so nobody was supplying the connection, nobody was buying. So when they made it license free kind of thing, or 1 rupee license fee, and then it grew, and that is where it has reached in the beginning. And now even if they try to regulate it, and as I told, the regulation should be called for only if the market has failed, if market is not growing, or means it is not happening. So, but that is easier said than done, as you know. Regulator, other than regulating, they also can have a role, and role of what is called facilitator, encouraging people and neutral kind of people. Actually, if that is the case, yes, they are required. They should come, and in India, in any case, they will come. But their role will be, and their role should be, to create what is called a standardization, interoperability kind of thing, like this blockchain. And even if you take just cryptocurrency, and that is also at the moment, it is unregulated. Now it is gray. People even don't know whether it is regulated or not. And that is why a lot of gray areas, but still it is happening. It is happening because there is no regulator. When the regulator comes, you already see what is happening to the pricing and all that. So the same thing happens everywhere, but they can play very important role by setting the rules of the game, by setting the standards, actually the standards for interoperability, and also to promote the competition, not to kill the competition, and also to promote the technology neutrality, whatever technology used, but there'll be a main thing that it should be interoperable, openness kind of thing. Because in future, if you want to grow big as a nation in blockchain, all your blockchain or all your currencies or whatever products are being created, they have to be interoperable. Then only they scale up. Then only the cost goes down. And then only the competition is also there. They should be able to interoperate. So for standardization purpose, for interoperability purpose, it should be there, a role of the facilitator. And as you had mentioned, Niti Aayog had published a paper about 1 year back, and few state governments also are coming with what is called a blockchain policy. I know for sure Tamil Nadu government, Karnataka government, and Andhra government have already published what is called a blockchain policy. The central government also have to come out with a policy, because if government wants to have a oversight or wants to facilitate, they don't have to create a regulator or a controller. They can create what is called a enabling policy framework. And that is what will happen. That is what is the way to go. And at center level also it should happen, because MIT, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, is also working in this direction. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anant, you want to add on to it? What is happening in the West for that matter? That's what I want to be more curious about.
Yeah, I mean, the West is also in a similar influx, right? In a similar flux with the regulatory standpoint. In many countries, they're still, flip-flopping as to how they want to handle it. And like Mr. Satya rightly said, premature regulation is always dangerous, and it curtails innovation. What would be helpful is standing up special economic zones, or special avenues for funding the startups, and then see how the ecosystem develops, and then based on the need, bring in the right regulation at that point. Otherwise, the regulators would just be making mental leaps, or the kind of transgressions that companies might make, and create a hypothetical regulation that doesn't serve any good purpose.
Thank you, sir.
So there's no set policy yet, in many of the countries, right? Including in the US. Yes, some states have more definition than others. It's still very early. Yeah, and right now, even in the blockchain space, right, most of the regulation is more concentrated on the cryptocurrency space, and how might they regulate that. But the rest of the blockchain space is largely untouched at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to add out here, Akhil, if time permits. So,
please, sir, please,
yeah, the point that in the West, usually people are really looking at CDBC, central bank digital currency. That's an area where people are looking at. This worry, area of worry for the Western or developed countries, if you will, is tax evasions. People are really worried that these currencies might create an environment for tax evasions, or probably and threat for the existing fiat currencies. So people are looking at a CDBC as one solution. There is a lot of talk around stable coins, if you will. These are pegged to, in a definition, stable coins are nothing but fiat currencies as digital assets, because these are pegged to dollar or a gold. So there is that level of understanding in the West, where they're looking at creating their own digital coins. In fact, currencies. Even for the case of China, it's already working on its own coin, and it's trying to push very hard on the other cryptocurrencies, bitcoins, and so on. but keep their own digital currency to ensure that they claim the benefit of this technology. Now, coming to India, we're still trying to understand the difference out here because way back in 2017, uh, the government has actually banned these cryptocurrencies, uh, and there was a lot of chaos, confusion around people whether they would really lose a lot of money because there is almost 10,000 crores, according to survey, 10,000 crores of money in India is being locked into cryptos. It's a big business. So when guys like WazirX or some exchanges reached out to Supreme Court said this is going industry. You can not stop this innovation or blockchain technology that can actually disrupt how things work. So that's when they said, don't ban it. Why not regulate it? So government is trying to solve the big puzzle because, again, as I said, I come back to the same thing, understanding around it. So they have come up with an expert panel, adding people around it to solve what can be a proper strategy. Until unless that ambiguity is there, the ease at the or the pace at which this innovation should go, like the Western countries or developed countries, will take its sweet time. That has to go, and that's when we'll see more adoption.
Agreed. Yeah, but I haven't worked with in the space of CBDCs. That's not my area. But yes, there's definitely interest in from many countries. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me change gears here and come to the main topic of the discussion. So, Dr. Geeta, come to you on this. See, the point is, as everybody was saying about, the business model of any industry used to have 10 years of lifetime, 2-3 decades back. And as soon as the internet came out, the business model became almost 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Now it has become 5 years, and now it has become 2 years. With so much rapid changes of things are happening around, so much rapid changes. I think somehow the education industry has to also be prepared for. I mean, by the time we think of something is good, and by the time 3 years down the line, we don't even know what is going to happen. So, as an education leader, what is your view on it? How the education industry has to be prepared for this?
Before I answer, I also see a lot of questions in the
Ma'am, all things are noted because these are it's all noted.
There's some on very, very important. So I think this time is also limited. So to the panelists quickly after this, maybe you can pick up some questions and ask them because the participants are keen to understand things. So a couple of things that I will quickly say. Yes, education has to move along with time, and for us, as you can see, we have easily moved from the face-to-face to the online mode. Some questions which were related to rural and others, which is speaking about how are rural India going to adapt. But you can see rural India has adapted to internet. Technology is very, very strong in India. If you see most of the technology in the Western world, the brain is from here in the country itself. So ideally, if the infrastructure is better, if there is a good infrastructure backing, I think moving from one technology to another and adapting technology is not going to be difficult at all, and that is what the country should move towards. And of course, academia will also play a very important role. The World Economic Forum says that one of the 7 technologies that is going to change our lives is blockchain. So I think to that extent, we need to have the technology in place and how the infrastructure in place and how the solutions that this will provide. For example, as I said, as a consumer, what we essentially look for is how this technology will help us in solving problems. So I think if there is something which is trustworthy, if there is something that is immutable, and if there is something that is distributed, and I'm sure this will be adapted in one form or the other. Now, how do you adapt it and how do you use it as a business model? Like how Ola came and disrupted a big automobile company. OYO as a came and did affect the hospitality space itself. So I think how one uses this technology to solve the problem is what is important, and I think that is what we need to inculcate and get to the younger generation to work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay, let me add to the audience questions from this point. Okay, so the first question I think is very critical here, and I want to ask this question to all of you. And some of you can answer it. Do you think the blockchain would be able to make its
You
way
can
to the
also,
rural India?
Akhil, you can also say who asked those questions, because their names.
Yeah,
are
it is from Vishal. I think it is from Vishal from Dairy Supply Chain Advisors UK. And he asked, do you think the blockchain would be able to make its way to rural India? First thing. And secondly, the implementation of blockchain is going to have a huge cost. But at the same time, does it going to have any impact on employment? So, Satya sir, you want to
Professor, yes, yeah. Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Vikas from UK for this great question. And luckily, I'm working in this space already in rural India. I'm already doing a project with Wi-Fi in rural India called Connecting the Unconnected. So as you have mentioned that whether blockchain will reach there or not, so your doubt is very substantial. But as I mentioned, the blockchain actually has to ride over the broadband. So if the broadband can reach rural India, then anything can reach there, whatever rides over that is called OTT, over the top. And hence blockchain will also reach there, because blockchain is not just a equipment or just a product. It will finally be offered as a service through a platform which can be created in a distributed manner at any place or at one place in a data center. So it will be a platform. So the whatever is required by the blockchain to be done, that can be reached to the village through this platformization of the blockchain, provided the high-speed connectivity is there. So that is the main thing, and that is happening already in India also. As I mentioned, about 750 million broadband connections are already there. Those are high-speed connections now, and fiber is going to all the villages as per our Prime Minister Modi ji vision. Also, in next 2-3 years, each village will have fiber actually, and hence the broadband in any case will be there. And if broadband is there, blockchain can ride over there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So my next question is from Kesha Sharma. That is, there are challenges organization might face in terms of connecting blockchain technology to that legacy systems, because there are already the systems already in place. So what is your view on that? How it is going to happen? Mr. Anand, you want to answer that, or on? Anand, you can.
So there are a few different approaches, right? So and it really depends upon the use case and the architecture. And when you talk about blockchain, first and foremost, there's no longer just one kind of blockchain. There are many different architectures that are already evolving, and one might pick one kind of architecture or other depending upon the use case that they are implementing, right? At a minimum, one way. Actually, I should also qualify saying that it depends upon other aspects, like what the consensus mechanisms and the token economics as well also come into play here. But there are different ways to do it. One is there is this concept of oracles. So Oracle, not the company, but as a computer science concept. So basically, think of Oracle as an adapter that has the ability to bridge the blockchain world with the rest of the world systems, right? So the Oracle architecture is very important, and we partner with a few Oracle companies out there like Chainlink. And if the use case permits, sometimes the thing is, in most of the implementations, the entire use case is not fulfilled by the blockchain. Blockchain is one of the subsystems of the overall business processes, right? So then, if the use case permits, you can just make REST API calls or other integration architectural choices. So the answer is it really depends, and there is more than one way to do it.
Okay, Mr. Irfan, back to you on one point. There's a question from Aditya Sati which says that recently China has banned crypto mining and the trading activities. Now he says that what if other government also do the same thing? How it's going to impact blockchain technology?
So thanks for that question. I think this is one of the most hottest and burning questions of our time. And at least in my purview, I don't think it's only China. I think it's all the global leading economies of the world who are aggressively addressing their stand on cryptocurrency. Primarily, I think because they are concerned about how rapidly it's gaining popularity and adoption, and the risk of and this is my opinion, that they probably fear that the adoption of the fiat currency may be undermined. Now, this is my view, right? So if you were to take a look at India, it's the same. If you were to take a look at China, it's the same. The US is also not different. One of the most liberal countries for cryptocurrency, which is Estonia, even they are now cracking down on the basically the adoption. They're trying to hamper the adoption by creating certain stories, right? So as I mentioned earlier, I also see that there is all the countries who are actively clamping down on cryptocurrency are also creating roadblocks for all the large crypto exchanges. So whether it's Binance, whether it's WazirX, whether it's CoinDCX, Huobi, all the large exchanges are suffering. I personally believe that it's not going to really stop. I mean, they are creating roadblocks because these are age-old, tried and tested government strategies on how to manage themselves and how they have to survive as well. But I believe that the outcome of all of this would essentially be that they would probably work together as a government coalition to drop the global value of cryptocurrency as a whole, introduce central bank currencies so that they can also be part of the game, and then there is no way they can stop the decentralization movement, right? Whether it's DeFi, whether it's crypto, whether it's identity and so on. It's not easy because you have the general public who is basically holding on to different nodes and maintaining and updating and basically building the network, right? So at least from a blockchain adoption standpoint, it may not hamper so much because people are still going to be adopting the tech. They may slow down the growth of the cryptocurrency. But in my view, I think this is somehow better because not only are they going to interrupt the growth, but they are going to inject their own cryptocurrency, right? So when they launch the government currencies, you are going to see a massive adoption because now you have a cryptocurrency which is backed by the government, and the government is going to promote education and support. So if you take a look at the segment of people that don't use / don't understand cryptocurrency, when they're going to get an injection of crypto that is backed by the government, they will be more receptive to it. They'll be more open to it. They will feel it's less fraud. It is only going to lead to more adoption, more education, more support. And once that sector is used to using government-backed cryptocurrencies, there is nothing stopping them from moving to Bitcoin or to Ethereum. So that's how I think it's going to play out.
Okay, thank you, Irfan sir. Venu sir, let me put the next question to you. Vijay says that blockchain seems to be a future technology as countries are start accepting crypto as well as the blockchain as an application. But do you think it has any impact on the environment because of its heavy processing and heavy power consumption?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, it relates to what China has been doing. And I just want to add what Irfan also was talking about here. There is a different view that I look at it. Now, I'll just add that and answer this question. Now, China has been banning mining. That's a very good thing for the entire world and for the Bitcoin network. Because majority of Bitcoin mining traditionally was happening in China, and that was a risk to the network because that might cause something called 51% attack. and that would probably slash down the network or cut down the network. And now, because China is in whatever alternative ways trying to push hard on these crypto mining, people are moving out of it, using more sustainable energy, hydroelectricity, because coal is something which China depends a lot on. The province that usually has a large mining farms usually depend on coal, which is a risk to the environment and all that. So, and for reasons, many reasons, of course, because it's an authoritarian government, it has its own reasons which we don't know, but it's a good thing to happen, and people are moving their mining farms to Kazakhstan and other locations for and looking for sustainable energy. And then developed countries in the Europe are looking at renewable energies for this. And answering to the question here, impact on the environment and all, the first thing here, people, the protocols of Bitcoin cryptos are slowly moving towards different consensus algorithm. For the case of Ethereum, it's now going to become from proof of work, where a lot of energy is needed, to proof of stake very soon. It's in testing phase. By end of 2021 or 2022, we should see everything moving to staking, which is energy efficient method. You don't really use a lot of hash power or mining power to generate or do the blocks or create these ethers, if you will. And of course, there is a new upgrade also that is coming up, EIP 1559, that addresses a lot of issues on payment, gas fees, etc., which would inadvertently lead to more adoption. Coming to Bitcoin network, it has a limited supply. Of course, people across the globe are trying to find renewable sources because of Elon Musk's tweet and that whole fiasco now that has led. So because of its approach now towards other networks, or I would say renewable resources, I don't see that would be a big problem going forward. That will change slowly, and it in fact will help the ecosystem of blockchain.
My next question, I think, Mr. Anand, if you want to answer it, is from Mahesh Amarjit. I think this is the last question. I think because 11:53 it's going to be time. So, does blockchain technology has a potential to change the current banking system, or it has the potential to make it obsolete? What's your take?
Sorry, change the current what?
Does blockchain technology has the potential to change the current banking system, or is it have a potential to make it obsolete?
Yeah, I'm not an authority on the banking systems, but yeah, like Irfan mentioned earlier, right? So there's enormous amount of innovation happening, especially in the various aspects or every aspect of the financial sector, right? Be it, asset trading or retail banking, loan originations and such, right? And time will tell. It's too early to say what will happen. It could, regulation also plays a role. In many cases, governments step in and protect the incumbents. So it's hard to say. I think it's anybody's guess at this point, but definitely there's quite a bit of innovation happening. And for anybody interested, just look at the DeFi space and study some of the top companies in the space, and then you'll open a Pandora's box for yourself.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So I was looking at all the questions. I think most of them we have covered in our conversations already. Last, the conclusion part of it, what do you see the future of blockchain in the next 5 years?
I can start, right?
Yeah.
So when we covered a lot of ground today in blockchain, right? But when you think in terms of business models, right? There are blockchain native business models and blockchain enabled business models, right? I think both have a place in the ecosystem. But where I see blockchain really coming into play is in the hyper automation world, when we step more and more into the intelligence age, when we see more and more autonomous things happening. For example, a large ships in our docks, then you need to unload 10,000 containers. Instead of manually handling it, if you can automate, then the throughput of the port can be increased by 7x, right? We see similar kind of technologies being adopted in more contained environments like let's say DHL warehouse or Amazon warehouse and such. But this kind of automation will spread everywhere. And in that kind of a world, then you need a layer that acts as a system of universal record, an adjudication layer, a settlement layer, and a trust minimized layer. And so blockchain is an essential component of that future hyper automation world.
So Satya sir, your point.
Yeah, Professor Akhil, I agree with Anant. And in next 5 years, the blockchain will become what the public internet of information is today, and that is what I'm calling it, worldwide chain of value. There'll be no activity which will not be impacted or accelerated or improved or increased in scope by various tools of blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Irfan, your points.
Yeah, sure. I personally believe it's difficult to say. I mean, we can speculate where it'll be in 5 or 10 years, right? But personally speaking, I really believe that blockchain, the technology, of course, I don't even know if blockchain will be around, but I prefer to call it as a decentralization technology. It's a fantastic precursor to building a mindset or a paradigm shift of how everyday people like you and me can actually make a change, use technology to actually bring back control to how we perceive value transfer, how we perceive identity, how we perceive transactions, and actually get involved on a granular level and contribute and build out and actually make an effect to how the world is actually moving. So you can download the Bitcoin and fork it and build your own network. You can get involved in any of the existing blockchain projects and actually contribute and actually get involved in the consensus mechanisms. And instead of waiting on a bank or a huge government to make changes for you, you can get involved and actually change the world in a way that you would want to see it actually affect. And that's a very powerful thing that everybody needs to understand about how technology in general, not just blockchain, but technology in general, can actually bring value for all of us.
Okay, thank you. Quickly, Mr. Venu, your points.
All right, I see that there will be a lot of advancement or adoption in the front runners of these technologies. For example, supply chain, where there is a provenance that is a requirement right now, origin, authenticity. And of course, I definitely see a lot of adoption in identity, and of course, areas where traceability is an aspect. So supply chain is definitely going to become one of the biggest industry. And fintech, it's already exploding in 1 year now. In just 2021, we hardly passed 7 months, and then it's almost $1 billion. It's become a $1 billion industry, and I'll not be surprised if it becomes a $1 trillion industry very, very soon within these 5 years. And a lot of other areas, other industries like agri-tech will grow and thrive on this technology. And I see a great future, but I would like to, I would probably see more adoption in, not just the blockchain space. You'll probably see a lot of other iterations of blockchain, like the DAGs, it's directed acyclic graphs, or examples, Hedera, IOTA. These are where there are no blocks created. These are just more like information that's been passed with their protocol one by one through their protocol, different iterations. So you'll see more of that coming. Machine to machine learning, IOTA is going to explode. That's where tracking, traceability, and efficiency will be created with blockchain. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Vinu. Dr. Geeta Hegde, your concluding remarks.
Yeah, I think, as I already mentioned, if it's going to be the technology of the future, one of the technology, definitely it'll be used as one of the technologies which can be used in various applications. As I told already, academia with the MOOC and other, platforms coming in, and also, for example, validation of a certificate or a degree, and then multiple applications. So if this is what it is, it will definitely be used as a technology that will be useful in business, and in some cases, definitely a disruptive business model.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So first of all, let me tell you one thing. This was a fantastic conversation happened for more than an hour. And if you see the audience observation and the remarks, it is one of the best conversations we had lately. And I think thanks to all speakers, all the panelists for being here. And I want to thank each and every support system, my student council team, and all the faculties who have joined, and all the participants for being here for such a long time and have the patience to listen to each and every conversation. And you will not believe I'm getting comments in Facebook and everywhere for the kind of words which are coming out of this panelist, and that's really great for a webinar to go well. With this note, I want to hand over to Pranjal and team for the closing note. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And a very warm good afternoon to one and all, since like we have been here since morning and it's almost noon now. So it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the students of School of Business and the whole student council team, and also the faculty mentors and the faculty members who are present over here. So therefore I hereby extend my sincere thanks to the speakers, that is Mr. Satya and Gupta, Mr. Anant, Mr. Venu Bora, and Mr. Irfan Khan. I must also mention my deepest gratitude to Dean Dr. Geeta, and like for providing us this platform to organize this panel discussion. I would heartfelt thanks to Mr. Akhil Damodaran sir, who is the faculty mentor of Student Council and the moderator for today's panel discussion. He has also invited, like he was the one who invited the guest speakers. I would also like to thank Dr. Karunakar Jha, who is the head faculty mentor of Student Council School of Business. He has been guiding us throughout the process of organizing this event. And a very big thank you to all the respected faculty mentors and all the like dear audience who are present over here. Like they have graced us with their valuable presence. So thank you all.
Extending it, I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and willingness to make this discussion successful and to be present here on.
Okay, I think he is having a network problem. So, like, thank you all for being here and giving such grateful insights on.
To all the audience and participants here, sorry, Kajal, I'm interrupting. To all the audience and participants here, the recording of this session is already live in Facebook. You can go to the School of Business UPS page and you can watch it. All of you, for all the question conversation which happened. I think this is it's a good way to repeatedly see this conversation. It's a really knowledgeable one. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, Kajal, please.
Yes, that is all from my side, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all panelists. So I think we can say goodbye to each other now. Thank you so much
and
for your time.
Maybe invite all of them to our campus once.
Absolutely. Irfan is already ready.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
And also, of course, all the participants. So as I always keep saying, we miss the students around. As faculty members, we are, sometimes they're going to the campus because we work from there. But we miss the students, but yeah, we invite everybody, all the participants, and of course the students very soon back to the campus.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all panelists. Saying goodbye to all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Harish, for the IT support, and thank you, Dr. Rajesh Tripathi, for the Facebook help. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Excellent conversation today. Bye.